would like to say that you should all be smarter, but I don't know how to go smarter. We don't know anything about how to improve intelligence, and suppose we don't really know anything about how to improve industriousness. But I can tell you that people who are industrious come up with a strategy for solving the problem that's ahead of them. If you know something about yourself, you sit on your bed one and say to yourself, "Well, you want to be in this, you want to be this way, this is not weird. Yes. What's one thing I'm doing wrong? That I know I'm doing wrong. That I could fish. That I would fish. You meditate on that, you will answer, and it won't be when you want. It will be necessary one. In this video, let's explore some of these. Let's get separate first maximizing focus and achieving long-term success so that you can study smarter, not harder. Now I often tell people to fix the thing you repeat every day. Gotta be able to think of those as truthful, right? You know, you brush your teeth, you have your breakfast, you have your routines, and then you go through every day. Where those probably condition 50% of your life. And people think, well, they're mundane and not to pay attention to them. It's not wrong. That's not exactly wrong. The thing you do every day. That's the more important thing you do. Hands down, all you have to do is do automatic, on an average of 35,000 decisions every single day. They can eventually lead to decision fatigue, a state of mental overload that can impede a person's ability to continue making decisions. And I was studied just this time and someone explain the more decision you have to make a more fatigue in you develop and the more difficult thing it can become. This mental exhaustion can lead to poor choices, procrastination, or even a tendency to avoid decision altogether. One effective way to reduce decision fatigue is by simplifying daily routines, such as planning meals in advance, maintaining a consistent workout, or establishing structural habits. Additionally, breaking down complex processes into smaller, measurable steps can make decision making feel less overwhelming. Having individuals who conserve mental energy for more important tasks. I can tell you that people who are ambitious come up with a strategy for solving the problem ahead of them, and then they do whatever they can do to stick to each other strategy and goal. So, for example, if you stand out today or tomorrow for a couple of hours, 3 hours, and you fill in your calendar or whatever you have been choose with a strategy for studying and at least when all your assessment are due and all that, and when you're doing to sit down and study, then you won't be in a recession where you have to cram for 10 hours days. Obviously, absolutely right before. But it's also very effective way of studying by the way. First of all, people who cram for 10 hours days study for 10 hours, but they really are because I can study for 10 hours. I don't have to the power of concentration that wouldn't enable me to do that for a prolonged period of time. I can make a choice of intense intellectual activity before I'm ready. Then, as they present advantages in human neuroscience, finance way learning, more study sessions are spread out over time can be classed as effective as math learning. This approach enhances memory retention and recall by encoding information to long-term memory. Research consistently show that students who spend out their studying perform better on assessment taken weeks later compared to those who cram in research to spend learning getting out in the sleep a crucial role in learning and memory. According to the sleep foundation, sleep deprivation inhibits the brain's ability to create neural pathways for recently learned information, making it harder to retain knowledge. And also the case that if you could study and sleep and study and sleep and study and sleep and you sit down, then you are much likely to remember. It also much more likely than you do. You're more likely to remember if you try to recall the material and without highlighting that sort of thing isn't very useful, but reading, closing the book, summarizing what you read without reading the poem book, that's useful. And the reason for that is you're practicing the remembering, and that's what you have to practice. If you practicing memorization, you have to practice remembering. You don't just over the thing over and over. That will help you with recognition memory, but it will help you recall memory. The best thing you can do is read and write every day. Couple hours every day, write about things you find important and see if you can discover what you believe to be true and build a foundation and it's believably practical. Research attraction rework style. Học Brigham Young University explore how reading literary fiction and has a possibility to understand others, a skill not in the theory of mind. This refers to human capacity to recognize as other can have belief and desire different from their own. The study explained where divided into group and cite different reading materials. Afterward, led to a test measuring their ability to receive others' information. The results showed that those who read literary fiction score significantly higher than those who did not read at all. So what seems to happen in story is that they distill so that they watch people watch people and then they tell story about what they see but they leave a lot out of the story. Everything is boring, hopefully. And then one more story about exciting things get shut up out of Reddit and then maybe a good writer come along and write something really interesting with character transformations. Then you will say, well, that's fiction. They will say, well, that's not true. Maybe it's fiction. But then maybe that's not right. Maybe it's more than true. Because we want the truth is mundane reality. Yeah, always when is the distillation um, and interesting experience. And you might think that well, what is interesting? Well, the answer is you don't know. That's the thing that's so cool. When you think about behavior, you tend to think about the voluntary behavior, but motivational stay will. This habit activity depending on the situation autonomic response. First of all, example when you food you provide and you start to think about food and start to organize your behavior towards food as an and to receive the world not your way but also receive food and so yes you food you think about motivated style that micro personality according to an article from Connection Today titled The Scientific Truth Behind Fake Theory. You may get mental and memory and actual perception share common neural circuits, so they have different firing dynamics. This phenomenon is explained by Self and Long, which state that neurons not fire together, wire together. In other words, you do something in association with something else. The two things will be intellect at a neural level. This principle highlights the brain ability to strengthen neural connection through repetition and association. For example, this one repeatedly visualize themselves speaking confidently in public, the brain starts to reinforce the same neural pathways used in actual public speaking, additionally improving their real-life performance. Even when you're just walking through a way you're unsure, if you're successfully working there, your brain just that you're doing the automated well really you're doing it and if what you're doing yourself in the yourself you desire then the dopamine flows those who live neurons that active and make them grow and flourish. As you practice something that's working, there is a shortcut that is activated as you're practicing is made in dopamine and that makes it stronger. And that feels good. It's growth. It's part of positive emotion. And so the positive emotion more you forward, but also it encourages you to develop a habit of that practice. So the thing I want to really will say is don't make a habit of pursuing things that are good for you because you build into that you that's what happens if you don't become addicted to someone certain thing you build a little months and inside you grow that is after one goal despite everything else not a good outcome. In order to withstand suffering, let's say your life has to have some meaning. Well, that's mean a bunch of things that mean that part of the way that you overcome suffering is by making the suffering into something meaningful and don't mean that metaphysically, I mean technically you make a mistake. It causes you suffering, you learn something about it. Don't make don't make that mistake again. And instead of writing with junior FBA participant, researcher found that those encouraged to embrace discomfort feels a great sign of achievement, and when one likely to encourage and 7% generally ensure their daily life, compared to those who simply instructed to focus on the task. Specific negatives learn and the startup process is particularly motivating when mistakes learn are delayed, and discomfort is eliminated. This is like suffering idea. It's like, why let something because you're wrong? Who cares? It makes you suffer. But who cares? So you when if you run out a little screen in the water, a little action, but you don't get what you if you as well if you actually this how you burst into tears. You couldn't cry. Why does? Because you don't know where you are and you don't know what you're doing. It's the last time for some negative emotion. It indicates that you're wrong. And that's terrible in some sense because our most important way make that you learn requires pain. Now I don't believe that exactly because people who are close you know and to go to be and because into learning into reciting and so what it tends to be is that there's the rate of learning that's too fast, and that's not that's why making it quiet. But if you get the right, you just graduate ultimately enough in novelty so that you can benefit the thing as well. And question.